Hey everyone, welcome to Kelly's Creative Dream Studios. And this is our first launch of Stampin' Up! Sunday, where every Sunday I will bring you a project using Stampin' Up! Products. Most of the time they will be brand new from either the new All Occasions catalog or our new seasonal mini. Today we are working with Celebrate Sunflowers. And this is the card we'll be making. And there is our stamp set. Now we will also be using the coordinating dies, and I've got some of the dies pulled off and ready to go. And we'll also be using the new Old World paper 3D embossing folder. And I love this because it gives your paper a real texture, and I'm going to show you one of those in a minute. With the exception of the leaves, I have pre-cut everything. But for those of you who are relatively new to stamping and card making, I want to show you, if I can get this to go where it belongs, using the new Stampin' Up! Trimmer. And I'll show you how we cut our cardstock. Now I think I'm in frame for most of this. You may lose something at the bottom, but for the paper trimming, I'm going to make sure that we've got this part in frame. And we're going to start with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. Turn it horizontally so your 11 runs this way. And you're going to cut that at the 5.5 mark. Remember, your paper is 8.5 by 11, so 5.5 is going to put that in half. And we're going to cut that. So now you have what we call 2 card bases. And this will make a standard A4 card. And then we're going to turn one of those, again horizontal, go to the 4 1/4 mark, and use our score blade and run a score on there, and that will give us a perfect crease, a nice sharp fold on our card base. And we are going to use, this is one of the new in colors. It is, let me get my cheat sheet over here. Bumblebee. I should have known that. And the other color we're going to be using on here is the Cinnamon Cider cardstock. And I'm also using scraps of Old Olive for the leaves. Now I will give dimensions as I go, but I am also going to put them in the description box below, so you'll have them, and on my blog post, and that blog post will be listed down below. So let's get started with this. The first thing I did was I took a piece of the Cinnamon Cider and I cut it what would be a 1/4 inch shorter all the way around. So this is cut to 4 inches by 5 1/4. And when you're using the 3D embossing folders, you're going to get a really deep impression. So what you want to do is you want to mist your paper first before you run it through your embossing folder. Now, different machines are going to require different layers. You probably know your machine and your die cutting machine and know what you have to use to get that perfect layer. But I had to shim this one a little bit through my Vagabond with a couple of pieces of lightweight chipboard. If you do not have any kind of a die cutting system, we have come out with our new one. Actually, we have 2, our Stampin' Cut and Emboss machines. We have our Stampin' Cut, which has a 6-inch wide cutting base, and then we have our mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, which has a 3.5-inch base. Now you'll see me cutting the leaves earlier, and I will be using my Tim Holtz Sizzix. I'd love to get new machines, but I have machines that do the job. I'd rather spend the money, since I have machines that do the job, I'd rather spend my money on the consumables like more cardstock and inks and dyes and that kind of thing. So you'll see me using the Sizzix Sidekick today. We're going to start with our base, and I've already run this through the embossing folder. And I use my Tombow Mono most of the time. monoliquid glue. This is my favorite one to use. And I'm just going to run a bead around the edge. Remember, if you've seen my videos before, you know that this will give you a squish technique. The one thing I like about the glues is it will get into the depressions better than your tape runner. And then I just squiggle some more down. Stick that someplace where it'll stay tipped down. And then I'm going to impress this right here. Now, if you'll notice, where'd my card go? This one's got a little bit of color added to it, a little bit more texture. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can do a letterpress technique by rubbing your embossing folder with your ink pad and then embossing. But I like to know a little bit more control, and I might not want it everywhere. So I just take my soft suede spot. Now I've made my own on most of these. These are our blank spots, and I get the re-inkers and I make my own spots. I like the spots. I have a little bit more control over what I'm doing. And then just lightly brush it over, and your ridges will pick up the color. And it kind of gives it that woodsy, you know, like a burnt wood kind of effect. And I think it really lets this pop a little bit more. Okay, next we're going to do, I've already run, and I need to get a piece of paper down here. I've already run the sunflower. I stamped it on a, let me flip my ruler around. I stamped this on a 3 3/4 square piece of cardstock, and then run my die through. Now, let me pop this off so you can see. This is easier to line up than you think it's going to be, because I started by using the ones that have kind of a wave going in them. There's too many straight points, but if you line up these 3 that wave with the side of your stamped image that also has the wave, then you can line it up much better. Let's see, where did I go? Lost my waves. There they are. Then you can line that up for it to punch out in a smoother fashion. So just find you a reference point on your die and on your stamped image and line them up that way. Now I run this forward through my vagabond, and then I run it backwards, because I found the one I did earlier, I didn't get as clean of a cut just passing it through once. And I tore a couple of my little pieces here trying to get this out. And I'm going to come back in here because I don't want to cut another one. Sometimes those little bitty pieces just need a little extra encouragement. And I'm trying not to tear my frames here. Okay. Get those pieces out of the way. Now you can also use, let's see, I don't know if I have my Stampin' Up pointer here handy. Probably not, because it's the one I want. So, use my one from Dollar Tree, and I'll just go through and poke out the few little round ones that are in the center. And this takes just a minute. And we'll get those punched out. And what this does is it lets a little bit more of your color from your background come through and gives you a little bit more added dimension. So you want to make sure you go through and pop those little holes out. And the easiest way to clean up those little pieces is to have you a lint roller handy. And you can just roll this across your work surface and pick up those little pieces. Also a great way to pick up miscellaneous glitter and embossing powders that have flown away on you. Okay, now we're going to put this one back. And then on the other one, I just cut out the solid frame. And it's going to pop up on me. And I'll put put that over there. All these little extra pieces, I will go through and cut out circles and whatnot for my art journals with those. Okay, so then we've got, I forgot to put my stamp on that one. Oops, you know what, we can fix that. Let's go back. And this is where that lining it up thing goes. And I'm using soft suede. And I want to make sure I get this going the right direction. So again, I'm going to look for my 3 little holes that go to the petals that want to flash to the side. And I'm just going to lay this down. Excuse me while I get my head out of the way. Here, and lay this down. And if I lay those 3 points down and hold them with my fingers, then I can walk this around and pick that back up. Now, our glue. And we're just going to put the glue on the back of the center. I'm not going to worry about trying to get it on the petals, because letting those petals fly free, again, gives me added dimension. I do have a little bit of the ink pad there, but that's not going to show once we're done. And then we're going to go back to our wavies. We have our 3 wavy points right here. And we're going to rotate this die till we line up those points. And lay that down, just like that. And I'm going to hold that there for just a second. And then from a scrap of soft suede, I have used the center die here and punched out a center. And I'm going to use a dimensional on the back of it. And if you want to give it a little bit more dimension, go around your edge with your soft suede and just dust that edge a little bit. Just like that. And then we're going to peel our back off. And you'll notice there's a little flat spot on the side of your die. You can't see it well here, but you'll see it better when you punch it. A little bit of a flat edge, and there's also a flat edge there, if you want to be really precise and line that up. Okay. Now we're going to add this to the back of our card. Now, but we're not going to go all the way to the center just yet. What I want to do first, let's get our leaves first. Let's get our leaves first. And I have Old Olive. And I'm using one of our Stampin' Up! Blocks, and I've got the larger single leaf on one side, and then I've got the doubles on the other. And I'm just going to stamp this twice with the Old Olive. And I'm going to come back and stamp it again. Stamp a second one with the Old Olive. Got that one a little close to the edge, but we'll be okay because we're going to hide it underneath anyway. And then I'm going to come back and do the same thing. I'm going to lay this down on scrap paper. Come back and do the same thing with the little ones. Okay, stuck to my arm. Alrighty then. So that's our leaves in Old Olive. Now I've already punched out the 2 small ones, so I won't have to do those. But we're going to line this one up with our solid leaf. Line it up on there, get a piece of our washi tape to hold that in place. Bring my sidekick over. Now this works better if you have it on a glass surface, but when I put my Tim Holtz craft mat up here, it really creates a glare. So I'm going to have to hold this down. We're going to put the suction cup down to give us a little bit of stability, but it won't help a lot. And then put our card on the die plates. As soon as I got that going through, I can hold this in place with my fingers. Speaking of my fingers, excuse my messy fingers. I have been working in the garden, trying to get new beds going, planting new potatoes bins and starting new tomato plants from the suckers off the existing ones. I'm going to have tomatoes coming out my ears if I'm lucky. Okay, and then that takes care of that one. And we'll set our die plate off to the side. Now, one thing I didn't do with this card that you could have done, if you'll see here, we have the outline of the layered flower of the die cut. We could have also done that with the leaf as well. And I just didn't do that, and I could have. But just so you know, that's an option. And maybe we will do that with this one, just because we have enough. Let's do that. Let's see if we can get them both off of here. Because since I'm just cutting the one, I can put both layers down there. Like that. We'll move this one off to the side, and we will add the die cuts to this one as best we can. Try to get them to fit up in there. Let's bring this one back over here. Because I'm going through two of them, I backed it out and let it run a second pass. And that should let us do those both on here as well. Okay, let's get rid of our die, put it back on our mat so we don't lose it. I've done that before. See if I can get these to separate. Should have my other glasses on, I think. Part of my problem is I can't see. Let's put the cheaters on and see if this goes a little faster. Okay. Because I've got those right there and I want to separate them. There we go. That one came out just fine. This one may give us a little bit of grief here. I should have probably cut them singularly. We have a pretty nice day in the Ozarks today. Very low humidity, but that's supposed to change this week, and I'm not excited about that. I like my cooler days. Now, the only reason this die is fighting me is because I tried to cut both of them at once. You can see the top layer came out just beautifully. And I'd probably be better off if I'd have just, instead of fighting with this, went ahead and cut the other one singularly. But, you know, what fun would that be? Also, I know I did not get Shout Out Saturday started yesterday. I intended to work on that Friday after Bob left. And the house went quiet as soon as he left, and I just couldn't bring myself to do much of anything. I kept trying to take a short nap so then I could get up and work. And my nap kept getting interrupted, so nothing got done Friday towards having Saturday's stuff up and running. Okay, now that I can put this up here closer to me. You know what? I hate frustration. I just hate frustration. Let me grab a piece of this Is this one gonna fit on there? Just. Let's put him back on there and let's just cut another one and be done with it. Because we'll be here all day trying to get that one to separate. Now I want you to see that they're not a struggle just when you try to do two at once. You're asking for trouble. We do one on there by itself. Put that back so we don't lose it. And these will pop right out. Look at that. That's the way they were supposed to come out. I just tried to do two at a time and there just wasn't enough pressure there. So that's done. Okay. So when I get this video uploaded for this afternoon, as soon as I'm done working with Dear Julie, I am going to get the Shout Out Saturday set up for next Saturday. And that's going to be the very first thing I do. Now we've got this set up. And I'm just going to come in. I'm not going to go all the way to the edge because I want to be able to go back and tuck those leaves under. So I want to leave room just like that. Now I could have put this on dimensionals, but then I'd had way too much dimension going on when I get ready to add the sentiment. So let's go ahead and place this one on here. And I just want to hold that down for a minute and give it a chance to set because I don't want it popping back up when I get ready to put the leaves down. Now, let's put our circular back over here so we don't lose him. Now this one's going to be tricky. So, I recommend using and hope that this will come out because my tip had come out. The fine tip glue. My glasses are going back on for this one. Let's see if I can get this one to come out. Might not be able to since my pin came out. I'm sure it's going to harden up. I don't know about the rest of you guys, but I have the hardest time keeping a tip closure in these little bottles. And it doesn't take anything at all for them to harden up. Yeah, that one's closed up on me and it's not coming out. So here's another alternative. Let's put a little bit of glue down here, and we can use our liquid Tombow. But just a dab down there, and take our pin edge or a toothpick, something little, and you can apply your glue that way. I'll bet I'm getting my head in the way, aren't I? And the whole point doesn't have to stick everywhere. You just want it to be able to have enough to stick to your leaf, just like this. And just line up your points. And let's do our other one and get it on here. Now a toothpick works great for this, but I didn't have a toothpick handy over here in my tool cart. I thought I did, but apparently not. And if you want to take the time to go ahead and do all the edges and not just the center spine of the leaf, you can do that. But just like we didn't add it all over to the sunflower, it just helps add to the dimensions. And I've got my leaf cockeyed there. Okay, there's that. Okay, now we're going to take our Tombow. And we're just going to, just in the bottom a little bit so that it'll stick. And I'm going to add a little bit here at the bottom so that it'll stick to the sunflower underneath. And this is why we didn't glue that sunflower down all the way to the edge, because we wanted to be able to tuck that leaf under. And we're going to do the same thing with one of the little leaves. Add them a little bit of a top and bottom. And I think I put this one on backwards, but we'll see. So that it can tuck under there. Do this one. Now if you wanted to do several of these, you could do that. Just do all your die cutting at once, all your stamping at once, and then you're ready to zip through and put them together. Just like that. Okay, the last thing we have to do is stamp our sentiment. And I have the Let's Celebrate You, which is part of this set, part of the sunflower set. And I stamped it on a piece of Whisper White that is 3.5 by 3/4. Oops, that's the wrong one. Where'd my sentiment? Oh, it's on the back side. There we go. Now what I learned from trial and error earlier was that you want to make sure that you're getting the bottom part of the Y right level with your bottom of your strip of paper. And I'm trying to do that without sticking my fat head in the way. So I could have come down just a little bit more, but I was trying not to get my head in the way. If you bring this all the way down to your bottom edge, then it will stamp straight. Okay? And then I'm using our banner triple punch. Now we have another stamp or another punch coming out in the fall catalog that is going to be perfect for this. But see the corners of the paper right there? I line those corners up till they look like they're lined up perfectly with the edge of that punch. And then I'm going to come back and do the other side the same way. There's my corners. Okay, then I have a piece of the bumblebee that is 3 3/4. Did I do this one 3 3/4? I did, 3.5. And then this is 3 3/4 by 1 inch. And we're going to punch it out the exact same way. Line up our corners. Like that. And then this one will line up right on there. Now if you have the bumblebee ink, you might want to dust the edges with this. I did not get the inks on my first pre-order. The inks are going on my order this week, so I'll have them probably not in time for the next Stampin' Sunday, but close enough that I can have them here in the future to work with more of the colors. And then there's that, and I don't have it quite square. The neat thing with Tombow is you have just a little bit of room. And then I use 3 of our large dimensionals, 1 at each end, 1 in the center, because you don't want that center collapsing and pushing down. And then we'll get those out of here. And what I did was I let this tuck up underneath the petals a little bit, so it looked like it was part of it. And there's the front of your card. And we're going to hang on to that piece of paper for a minute. In this one you'll see I've got the liner on the inside. I used Happy Birthday from our Retired Beautiful Day set. You can use any sentiment stamp that you want in the center. But I wanted to show you what I did with this. Now because I didn't have Bumblebee, I used crushed curry for that one. And the soft suede. Because your crushed curry was a little too yellow and I wanted a little bit more of that brownish tone. So what I did was I went over the flower with the soft suede first. And then I came back with the crushed curry. And that tones that brown down just a little bit. The other thing is when I do my cards, for my liners, instead of using cardstock for my inside liner, I use 32 pound weight copy paper. It's got a nice, elegant finish to it without adding a lot of weight to your card. And you'll notice that I got just a flower in the corner. I didn't really get the leaves. So I've laid my paper on a piece of scratch paper. And I'm going to turn this because I just know I'm going to lay that in that glue. And I want my flower down this bottom corner. And then the stamp doesn't go all the way onto the paper. You can see that I've got leftover edge here. And that gives me that flower down in the corner, just like that. I could have used a little bit more of that crushed curry, but it's okay, it works. And then I just, let's see, where's my birthday? Let's go ahead and do the birthday on here. Make sure I stamp this off so I don't get it on my work table. In fact, we'll go ahead and peel it off and I'll put it on the cleaner here in a minute. And then I stamped my sentiment. I did happy birthday in soft suede. Okay. And then we'll go back. Now I wasn't sure I really wanted a sunflower. Oh, I normally don't do the center, I was talking. Stamp set, but I really like the die options with this one. And then we'll put this on the inside of the card. Get our gluey fingers out of the way. May have to stamp something over that to hide that. And there's our card. Using the Celebrate Sunflowers and the Stampin' Cut Old World paper embossing folder. Thanks for joining me in the studio today. If you want to see more card making or uses of Stampin' Up! Products, please click the like button. I would appreciate subscribers because I'm still putting together the packet that is going in the giveaway that was supposed to have gone up yesterday. It will go up next Saturday, I promise. So make sure you're subscribed to my channel so that for two reasons. Number one, that I can give you a shout out on Saturday and you will be eligible to be in the drawing for my first subscriber giveaway. And click the little notifications bell and make sure you click all notifications so that you don't miss anything when new videos go up. Thanks for joining me in the studio today. Have a great weekend and creative blessings.